Now we go back in time, exactly 1 hour ago, when that woman named Amo was guiding them through the forbidden zone to her house. The group is surprised to see she lives in a very tall tower reaching the sky, the only building visible in that area. Enshin comments that he saw this place on the way, but he never thought anyone would actually live there. Tome then remarks that she hadn't known such a building existed in Penta, the Forbidden Desert Zone, so she must be sure to record it. While she's jotting down notes, Ludo can't help but ponder the fact that the building is so incredibly tall, it just might touch the sphere. Amo opens the tower doors and welcomes them, letting them into her home. Once inside, the first thing they see is a door blocked by chains, and Chris remarks that many things about this place give him a bad vibe. Amo clarifies that the living room is a bit messy, so she'll host them in her room instead. The group follows her up the countless stairs of the tall building, but on the way up, Amo asks them to take off their masks. After all, the plague from the Forbidden Zone doesn't get in here, so they can take them off without any problems. And they won't show their faces despite wanting to talk, which she finds unpleasant. Following that logic, they all decide to take off their full face masks and finally reach the top floor of the tower where Amo's room is. She gets extremely excited seeing their faces, calling them handsome, cute, and sober, thrilled to finally gaze upon their countenances. Tome keeps writing in her log, noting that her room is on the top floor and decorated to her taste. Chris tells her she doesn't need to write that down, and Ludo just wonders how Amo has so much stuff if she's in the middle of the desert. Without delay, Amo sits, excitedly asking what they'd like to chat about. Ludo is the first to speak, asking her to tell them about the one who can travel between Sphere and Terra, since they came to see her because they heard she knows him. Amo interrupts him and gladly agrees to talk, then asks them what kind of person they like. The abrupt shift in topic leaves them somewhat bewildered, but Amo excitedly continues, stating her preference for individuals with a strong scent. In her tactical analysis, scent is more important than a face, so out of all of them, she likes Enshin the most. Ludo is utterly startled by Amo's creepy smile and completely bewildered by what she's saying. Enshin decides to intervene and without beating around the bush asks if telling love stories is the price for the information. Amo doesn't understand what he means, so he explained that they came to ask for information to get to the sphere. He finds it strange that the price is love stories, but he's willing to cooperate in exchange for what she knows. Amo is silent for a moment after hearing that and asks him what he means. Ludo watches her with fear, and Amo repeats that question endlessly, her tone escalating as she digs her nails into her legs. Soon she starts shouting, exclaiming that they were supposed to want to talk, but he's speaking as if they want to take advantage of her, so she doesn't understand what they're plotting. The others maintain a neutral expression seeing her in this state, but Ludo becomes more and more terrified. Amo exclaims that she was so delighted to have guests, so she just can't believe that in the end, they only want to use her. Enshin realizes he made a mistake and the situation doesn't look good at all, as the girl is clearly losing her sanity. Amo continues talking non-stop, assuming that they're the ones who don't want to see her unless they have a goal. This makes her feel very frustrated, so she clarifies that they could have at least lied and said they wanted to see her just to make her happy. Enshin realizes he didn't quite choose his words carefully enough, so he then offers her a forced smile and assures her of their keen interest. Everyone worries when they hear his blatantly fake tone, since that could only make the situation worse. As they feared, Amo explodes in rage, screaming for him not to lie. After standing up, she tells him he's not her type anymore, and Enshin knows he can't fix the situation now. So he decides to say what he's really thinking and tells her to put on more clothes since he doesn't know where to look. Amo is offended and asks how he could dare criticize a girl's outfit or fashion sense. Now she's sure he's the worst man she's ever met, so she's not going to talk to him anymore. At that moment, what appears to be a vital instrument starts to glow, revealing that it's her boots. Amo, with a hostile aura, tells Enshin he no longer has the honor of being her friend. With this, Enshin confirms she's a giver, which is just a nuisance in this situation. Meanwhile, Ludo is very surprised to notice the mark on Amo's boots, as it's the same mark he has on his gloves. The place fills with tension, but without moving at all, Amo simply smiles and tells her elegant gentleman to leave the rest to him. This is where we return to the present, and in just a few seconds, Enshin falls to the ground after being attacked by Delmond. Amo offers a creepy smile, stunning everyone, but then they notice Delmond's eyes are completely lost and unfocused. So Ludo assumes Amo did something to him. He doesn't hesitate to confront her, knowing she's a giver and her boots bear the same 3R mark as his gloves. Just then, Amo suddenly switches back to her friendly attitude and, with a smile, asks them what kind of person they like. This leaves them completely baffled. The girl clearly has issues, but she doesn't get why they've gone quiet, so she reminds them that conversation is the foundation of communication. Therefore, if she's the only one speaking, they won't be able to become close friends. People love to talk about themselves, so everyone will have fun if they just talk about them. Amo mentions it's been a long time since she's had guests, so she wants them to enjoy the chat. Her expression suddenly darkens at the sight of Enshin on the ground, stating the party pooper no longer counts. Ludo is still terrified by Amo's expression and tells the others he doesn't think it's possible to have a conversation with this girl. Despite that, Sanka calmly approaches, assuming she can only hear those who play along and not those who change the subject. He kneels down to assess Enshin's condition, while Amo, with a hostile attitude, tells him he'll have to listen very carefully to what she has to say. Sanka declares her demented chat is over. He doesn't know how, but she went too far, leaving Enshin like this. He couldn't care less about the sphere, so he won't hesitate to crush her if she gets violent. Even Rio is surprised to hear the hostility in Sanka's voice. But what impacts them even more is the fact that he made Amo cry. Through her tears, Amo asks why he's saying such horrible things. She insists she hasn't done anything, so he's being cruel and has hurt her deeply. Suddenly, her sadness turns to uncontrolled rage, and Sanka immediately gets into a defensive stance. This helps him avoid Delmon's attack, carrying Enshin's unconscious body to keep him from harm. Sanka assumes he's being manipulated, so he tries to make Delmon see reason, reminding him that they're his friends. Yet, Delmon erupts in fury, demanding how anyone could dare harm her, and warns them all that he won't allow her to be hurt again. He declares that she is the reason he fights, and protecting her is the most just cause of all. Seeing this, Tamsi warns the others that Delmon isn't being controlled and that he's serious about what he's saying. She knows this because she's worked closely with him for quite some time, so she's absolutely certain about it. Grizz tries to process the situation, as he clearly doesn't understand anything that's happening. At this, Amo smiles wickedly, realizing they were completely in the dark. She approaches Delmon and informs them that he has always been her fan. This only confuses them more, but Tamsi clarifies that can't be right, since Delmon wouldn't hit his friends just because he likes someone. Amo tells her she completely misunderstands him, because Delmon could easily betray them all for her, but they deserve it, as she herself has done nothing wrong. She just wanted to talk to them, and that was all, so she's not going to hold back. At that moment, Delmon activates his vital instrument called Quenchel, and with it, he grows larger. Tamsi clarifies that they just came to ask for information and that this is starting to overcomplicate things. Ludo doesn't understand why everything always ends in a fight and can't help but think this is also his fault. Just then, Ludo hears a man's voice telling him it's all his fault because he carries a criminal bloodline. Soon, a bunch of unrecognizable voices speak at the same time, telling him he's tainted, and that's why he contaminates others with the filth of the abyss. Amo gets everyone's attention to tell them there's actually another fan of hers among them. Her wish is for them to have fun chatting here forever, but if anyone says something to ruin the party again, perhaps this puppet will punish them. And as she says this, she points at Ludo, making it clear she means him. Meanwhile, Ludo begins to panic and falls deep into his hallucinations, completely surrounded by the sphere's disciples, who look at him with utter contempt. He doesn't understand how they're there, but just as one of them tries to attack him, Tamsi yells at him to snap out of it and pulls him out of the way before he's hit by one of Delmon's attacks. He explains to the others that Delmon's vital instrument represents his past and was created by his desire to grow his plants. The water from that hose can manipulate the target's water content. It makes the target's body absorb water, inflating them like a balloon. However, like any balloon, if it fills with too much water, it can burst. Delmon must have sprayed water on Enshin from behind. Zanga just can't fathom how he hit him unnoticed. Tamsi explains that Delmon can change the nozzle on his hose depending on its use, so she figures he must have used a silenced nozzle that time. He's never used it against other people before, so he's sure that woman did something to him. Rio calmly decides to intervene, stating she doesn't fully grasp the situation, but plans to calm Delmon for now, as it's best to tackle issues one by one. Zanga tries to stop her, warning her not to go alone, as it won't be easy to face him. Ignoring Zanga's shouts, Rio approaches Delmon while remembering Amo's words about there being another fan among them. Knowing this, Rio is certain she can't trust her back to anyone right now, so she plans to act alone. Zanga tries to warn her to be careful, and just then, she notices Delmon is pointing with his hose at her. adjusting the water pressure to maximum. In less than a second, the immense water pressure from Delmon's instrument completely destroys the tower wall, creating a huge hole. Amo praises her weapon for its power, but asks him not to destroy her home, clarifying he will have to help fix it. Meanwhile, Rio is on the ground, clearly in shock after having only just managed to dodge that attack. Zanga scolds her, telling her to focus, but Amo then starts laughing at them, remarking that they can no longer even distinguish friend from foe. She reminds them that if they agree to chat, everyone can have a good time, because talking about love is the first step towards peace. Tamsi comments that she's truly crazy and once again tries to talk to Ludo, but becomes worried when she sees the state he's in. Shaking, Ludo stares at Tamsi, utterly confused, repeating to himself that he's supposed to be on Terra. Here we see that instead of his comrades, Ludo is actually seeing the disciples of the sphere, which makes him believe he has returned. Zanga realizes something and has also noticed a strange smell that is affecting everyone's perception. At that moment, the place begins to fill with fog, and Amo asks them how they think memories are made. She mentions that many things become memories, like the things they saw and heard or the people they lived with. However, she thinks that memories are made of smells. Through the fog, Ludo looks at Amo and is shocked to see Chiwa, affected by his hallucinations. Amo tells them that if they don't feel like telling love stories, then they should smell a nostalgic scent so they can remember their loved one. Ludo fully immerses in that illusion, taken to the sphere with Chiwa, who still holds his gifted plushie. She hugs the plushie and exclaims that she will treasure it forever, but Ludo's expression darkens, as he knows that's not what happened. This enrages him, and without hesitation he shouts she threw it right before his eyes. Everyone in the room hears that shout, and it's clear Ludo felt just like Delmond. Tamsi explains they're not betraying them. The woman is showing them something with her ability. Hearing that, Amo says she doesn't know what Tamsi means, as she's not showing them anything. With her boots, she draws a line on the ground and explains that the only thing she's doing is releasing a scent. The theme of the scent she produces is happy moments with the beloved person. This varies by person. They all protect her after smelling it. Amo realizes she talked too much, but Zanga and the others quickly put on their masks, assuming that those who smell the scent confuse her with the person they love. Tamsi emphasizes that cherished memories aren't always joyous, prompting her to inquire about the consequences if someone harbored resentment towards that same individual. It's possible that person would kill her on the spot, so they plan to take care of her before that happens. Amo gets furious when she hears them and once again loses her composure, reminding them that the theme was happy moments. Ludo gets more and more agitated inside his illusion and can't understand why he feels happy remembering Chiwa, since he's supposed to never forgive what she did to him. Just then, he sees some disciples bothering Chiwa, who asks to be saved. In reality, Amo is calling for help to manipulate him, and he leaps without hesitation before Zanga and Tamsi can reach her. Both of them are pushed aside with a blow, and Ludo sees them as disciples, so he warns them that he's not the same as before, because now he has the power to give them a beating and send them to hell. Both of them get excited seeing how he defends her, and that's when Rio stands up to protect her too. Folo too falls into her illusions, leaving only Grizz, Tamsi, and Zanga to maintain their sanity. Tamsi says she didn't want to use his vital instrument against his friends, but it seems he has no other choice. In a change of scene, we see Delmon's memories, where he's working in a garden with an important woman from his past. She remarks that it's truly incredible to see a flower blossom in a dump like this, and it's all due to his sweat and hard work. Still, Delmon clarifies one flower isn't enough, promising with a smile to fill the house with them. The woman smiles at his words, but here we are shown that this important person is now Amo, who is keeping him under a powerful illusion to make him protect her. She smiles and mentions the names of her knights, including Delmond, Ludo, Rillo, and Folo, who she now considers her devoted fans. Tamsi tells them to calm down and immediately takes out his vital instrument, a spool of blue thread he calls Tokushin. The small spool of thread transforms into a giant one, causing everyone under Amo's illusion to get defensive. However, Tamsi simply spins his spool, sending out large threads in all directions. In just a few seconds, these threads imprison everyone, leaving them completely immobilized. Amo doesn't understand what's happening, but she doesn't like how her room ended up at all, so she tells the boys to do something. Grizz and the others start to struggle with the restraints, but Tamsi advises them not to move, as the more they do, the tighter the threads will get. However, even with his warnings, the boys continue trying to break free, so Tamsi assumes his plan didn't work. He thought the pain would make them come to their senses, but it didn't, and they all keep struggling non-stop. Amo comments that some horrible people have come to visit her, since he's talking as if this were an experiment and doesn't care about hurting her friends. Even so, she's glad the experiment failed and warns him that for her sake, they will try to break free no matter how much they get hurt. Tamsi reminds her that his vital instrument is a thread spool, but at first, it was just a winding rod. Without another word, he spins his spool once more, drawing all their bodies to a single spot in the room, creating a colossal thread ball that entraps them completely. Amo also gets caught in the threads, so Tamsi asks her to revert everyone back to their normal state. Zanga tells him to hurry up, as he feels very uncomfortable with how surreal the situation is, plus he hasn't even done anything this time. Tamsi remembers that's not true, as from Amo's perspective, realizing she was up against multiple foes must have caused her considerable stress, and she was particularly hurt when he previously called her an ugly girl. While they are talking, Grizz swiftly moves to Tom, feeling relieved to see she had put on her mask just in time. He asks about Engin's condition, and she replies she doesn't know, but put the mask on him as a precaution. Grizz mentions they need to get him to the medical team quickly, though it's a bit difficult in this situation. Amo complains about the painful restraints, exclaiming she hasn't been treated so badly in a long time. In frustration, she lets out a heartbreaking scream, and through her tears she pleads to be saved, causing everyone caught in her illusion to react instantly. Zanga clarifies that no one can move anymore, but Amo's sobs make Delmond and the others lose control. They all move desperately to break free, no matter how much they hurt themselves. Their bodies start to bleed from the struggle, and Amo cries even more intensely. So Tamsi decides that it's already enough. He agrees to release them instead of trying to shut her up, since that's what she wants. And with a single movement, he makes the giant roll of thread start spinning at full speed. The rotational force is so great that the floor collapses in seconds, and soon the roll of thread breaks through the lower floors until it reaches the bottom of the tower. Ludo and the others are smashed along with the debris, and seeing the state of his companions, Zanga tells him he went too far. They're all bleeding out quickly from their wounds, but Tamsi calmly dissents, stating that everything should be alright now. Zanga asks what he means, since he just tore his comrades to pieces like it was nothing. His words are cut short by Amo's incessant chatter. From above, she taunts them, saying this is precisely what happens when they won't talk to her amicably. Even if they try to hide it, what they really think eventually comes to light. And now they're about to die because he's the worst, and because of his friend's lack of coordination. Zanga is not happy with the situation, but just then, Tamsi looks at him in surprise and asks if he really forgot. This leaves him clearly lost, so Tamsi reminds him that even though he received a mortal wound, it can be reversed once. Ludo gets up as if nothing happened, pulls the iron rod from his abdomen, and the wound heals instantly. Zanga still doesn't understand, so Tamsi explains that it's the effect of the amulet Remlim painted on them, which is why they're all okay. Engine 2 rises, completely unharmed despite the assault he endured. Without Amo noticing, he takes off her boots, leaving her completely defenseless and pulling everyone out of her illusion. In a separate scene, Semio is shown going through Ludo's records when Corvus suddenly appears, placing a treat on her desk and expressing his hope that they'll retrieve the border information without any issues. She reminds him he's with capable members. She thinks they'll be fine. He notes that she still appears troubled, and questions if this is connected to what lies within Ludo. Semio is startled to hear that, but Corvus asks her to tell him what she saw when she first met him. Returning to the tower, Amo desperately attempts to retrieve her boots from Engine, clearly distressed that he confiscated something so vital from her. She demands he not touch them. That person's scent will vanish. Engine doesn't grasp her meaning, so he quickly removes his mask to sniff Amo's boots, but then recoils, complaining about the truly terrible stench it emits. Amo gets angry and tells him not to smell it. Meanwhile, Grizz remarks that it's incredible the amulet healed Engine's organs, which burst from Delmon's attack. Tom mentions that ever since he attempted to give him first aid, he'd been feigning sleep, awaiting his chance. Engine complains about Amo's whining, so he tells her that once she deactivates her power and returns everyone to normal, he'll give her boot back. She clarifies that she can't spread her aroma with just one boot, which is why no one is doing anything to defend her. After a moment, Delmon pushes the rubble off himself and gets up, not understanding what just happened. Tamsi approaches him, commenting that the amulet seems to have worked, so Remlim played her part well. Noticing Delmont has regained his sanity, he explains that Amo used her ability on them with an aroma that made them recall happy moments with their loved ones. That tricked them into thinking she was their loved one, which is what caused this whole mess. Understanding this, Delmont's hand shatters the concrete as he realizes that the important woman to him didn't actually come back to life. Zanga witnesses his deep frustration, and observing Rilo's downtrodden state, he understands that Amo's ability is truly quite cruel, especially for those who have lost their loved ones. The happy memories must be the most intense, so even when they come to their senses, reality will seem like a nightmare. After recovering, everyone puts on masks and then reunites to confront Amo, who finally receives her boot back. Zanga asks Engine what they should do now. They could just forget the information and leave, but she's far too dangerous. Engine admits it's not a good idea to let her go, but reminds him she's just a defenseless girl without her vital instrument, so he doesn't like the idea of stealing her treasure. Therefore, they just need to convince her not to harm anyone. His words are interrupted by Amo, who remarks that she truly feels awful, and since her home was destroyed, she wants to know if they feel any guilt at all. Zanga is furious when he hears her insensitive tone and asks her what's wrong with her. Before he can say anything else, Ludo removes his mask and slowly walks towards her. Meanwhile, Semio tells Corbus that he's seen and examined many people, but what he saw in Ludo is completely different, and it's not just about his gloves. Amo laughs at Ludo's boldness for taking off his mask, asking if he's become addicted to her aroma. Ludo continues to walk towards her, completely expressionless, and upon reaching her, simply delivers a powerful punch to her face. Everyone is shocked to see this, and Amo looks at him, bewildered, realizing his expression has turned completely dark. Without giving her time to react, Ludo gets on top of her and starts punching her relentlessly, destroying her face with each blow. During all this, Semio explains to Corbus that something is growing inside of Ludo. To put it simply, he is referring to something that could destroy the world, something like a curse. Engine and Grizz manage to stop Ludo together, and Grizz reminds him that they already know how to deal with Amo's ability, so there's no need to go this far, especially since she's just a girl. Ludo cuts him off, asking what difference it makes. He questions if counterattacking isn't allowed if the enemy is a woman, or if he should stand by idly while a woman kills his family. His face is completely distorted with rage as he makes it clear that he can't do that. Grizz exclaims that's not what he means, but that he doesn't think it's right to attack a defenseless girl. Ludo yells back at him, clarifying she's not some defenseless girl, but a Guyber who cunningly trapped them. And it wasn't just physical, she trampled all over their feelings while laughing her head off, so she deserves a beating. Grizz cannot say anything against that, as he can see the grim and pained expressions of those who have been through it. Understanding his mindset, Engine approaches and asks what about the information they are looking for. Hearing that makes Ludo's expression change completely, and in that moment, he realizes what he's done. Engine sighs, then decides to take him aside to another spot for a private discussion, but not before he asks Tom to heal Amo's injuries. Once they're alone, Ludo sits in silence like a scolded child, but he's confused when Engine doesn't say anything. Engine explains that it seems Ludo already figured it out without him having to say it. He acted impulsively, forgetting his original goal. Ludo realizes he held back the whole time in the sphere. They told him to endure, and he wouldn't get angry no matter what they said, but he knew when they threw him into Terra. He understood that if he held back, he would lose, and just now he realized he reverted to his old self. He became what he was before he learned to hold back, when he would just unleash the black stuff that comes out of him. He realized then that, in the end, he's still doing the same thing and, whether he's up or down, he hasn't changed at all. He thought he'd matured a little, but he's still just a stupid brat. Hearing his anger and frustration, Engine keeps a neutral expression and out of nowhere comments that he likes good women. Ludo looks at him, bewildered, his confusion making him forget all his problems for a moment. Even though Ludo doesn't understand a thing, Engine keeps talking calmly, mentioning that he likes them to be smarter than him and have an attractive body. He enjoys attractive, open-minded women, yet he absolutely cannot tolerate annoying women and children. Engine then pauses, looking at Ludo, remarking that a woman would surely be furious to hear such words. His flaw is that he can't hide it, so even adults have to mature in many ways. What he himself needs to mature is to be considerate of them, and someone made him realize what was wrong with him. However, Ludo noticed it by himself, which means he has plenty of potential to grow. Ludo is surprised to hear his words, and Engine tells him they'll go apologize together later. Meanwhile, after treating Amo's injuries, Tome apologizes, stating they never intended for things to escalate to that point. Amo, losing all strength to speak, watches as Tomi removes her mask and genuinely smiles, inviting her to discuss anything she wishes, as she too enjoys talking about love. At this, Amo looks up at her and comments that she would surely be a good mother. Tome smiles warmly at the comment, and Amo then shares that her mother was truly wonderful. It was thanks to her that Amo not only found her first love and her treasure, but also had the chance to witness the angel that travels back and forth between the sphere and Terra. Tome smiles, listening attentively to her story, but when she realizes the last thing she said, she looks at Amo in alarm, asking what she means about the angel that goes between the sphere and Terra. Gris is also alarmed when he realizes this, so he immediately asks Amo what she had just said, knowing that she may have unintentionally given them some very important information. However, despite their eagerness to learn more, Amo merely lifts her gaze to meet theirs, her expression utterly dejected, and remains completely silent. And so concludes the initial installment of GACHIAKUTA's premiere season.